Did you know that Johnny Depp, yes, the Johnny Depp, quietly walked away from Hollywood and settled into a simple, almost anonymous life in a tiny French village? It's true. The same man who once dominated every red carpet and made headlines with every move somehow slipped right through the cracks and built a whole new chapter of his life far away from the cameras, from the noise, and from the expectations of everyone watching him. When you really think about it, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why would someone with everything, fame, money, admiration, all the trappings of success, leave it all behind? Why would he trade the flashing lights and screaming fans for cobblestone streets, lavender fields, and mornings spent buying bread at a corner bakery? That's what I want to tell you about today, Johnny Depp's quiet exile in France. How he left the spotlight behind and embraced something that feels almost impossible for someone like him, a quiet, peaceful life. And the more you hear about it, the more you might catch yourself wondering if maybe, just maybe, you'd want the same thing too. For Johnny, this wasn't some impulsive decision. He didn't wake up one morning, pack a bag, and say, "That's it, I'm done." No. This feeling, this need to disappear, it had been building inside him for years. Decades, really. Even at the height of his fame, when he was one of the most recognizable faces in the world, he'd sometimes talk about how uncomfortable it all felt. How strange. People thought of him as larger than life, but inside? He felt like he was wearing a mask all the time. Fame can feel like a cage, he once said. A beautiful, gilded cage, but still a cage. And the more people praised him, the more roles he took on, the more he felt like he was playing characters not just on screen, but in his real life too. Everyone had an idea of who Johnny Depp was supposed to be. But no one really knew him. That kind of life. The constant scrutiny, the pressure to live up to other people's expectations, the never-ending glare of the spotlight, it takes its toll. It wears you down, little by little. Until one day, you look around and realize, you don't even recognize yourself anymore. That's why, years ago, he bought that little village in the south of France. Back then, it was just supposed to be a getaway. A place where he could escape for a few weeks at a time, recharge, and then go back to his Hollywood life. But as time went on, that little village became something so much bigger. It became his sanctuary. Can you picture it? Waking up to birds singing outside your window. Breathing in air scented with lavender and sun-warmed earth. Walking through quiet streets lined with old stone houses. Chatting with the baker while you pick up a fresh baguette in the morning. Sitting outside in the evenings with a glass of wine, watching the sun dip behind the hills. That's what his life looks like now. Instead of waking up to an inbox full of demands, or being chased down by paparazzi, Johnny wakes up to silence. Peace. Instead of being surrounded by bodyguards, he's surrounded by neighbors who barely give his fame a second thought. Instead of wearing designer suits under blinding lights, he's wearing jeans and a loose shirt, painting, playing guitar, or just sitting quietly and letting himself just be. For the first time in decades, he doesn't have to perform. He doesn't have to pretend. He can just be Johnny. Not Jack Sparrow. Not Edward Scissorhands. Not the Mad Hatter. Just himself. And you know what's really beautiful? In that village, the people treat him like anyone else. To them, he's just their neighbor. The slightly eccentric American who lives down the street. The guy who likes to buy bread early in the morning. No one's shoving cameras in his face. No one's asking for autographs. They smile at him, wave hello, and let him live his life. There's even a story that once, when the village church was falling into disrepair, Johnny quietly paid for the repairs himself. No press release. No big announcement. Just quietly giving back to the place that gave him peace. When you hear stories like that, you realize, he's not hiding. He's healing. And isn't that something we all crave? There's something we can all learn from his story. It's okay to walk away sometimes. In fact, sometimes it's the only way to save yourself. We live in a world that glorifies being busy, being seen, being on all the time. But that constant grind? It can burn you out. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is step back and say, enough. Your peace of mind is worth more than your status. You can have the biggest house, the nicest car, the flashiest job title, but if you're not happy, none of it matters. And maybe the hardest lesson of all, you don't need everyone's approval. You just need your own. Johnny's story makes you realize how easy it is to get caught up in what everyone else expects of you. But at the end of the day, the only person who has to live your life is you. One of Johnny's friends said something that's always stuck with me. He said Johnny finds more joy sitting outside with a glass of wine and a few locals than walking any red carpet in the world. Doesn't that make you stop and think? When was the last time you did something just because it made you happy? Not because it looked good on Instagram. Not because it impressed someone else. But because it fed your soul? Maybe we all have our own little France waiting for us. Maybe it's not a village in Europe. Maybe it's a quiet weekend at home. A hike in the woods. A morning spent watching the sunrise without checking your phone. Or maybe it's just sitting in silence for a few minutes and letting yourself just breathe. We all deserve that. We all deserve to step outside of the noise, even for a little while, and remember who we really are. Even though Johnny is still the same creative, complicated, brilliant man he's always been, now, he finally gets to live on his own terms. And if he can do it, if someone as famous as Johnny Depp can find the courage to walk away from it all, then so can you. So let me ask you something. If you could disappear for a little while, where would you go? If you could step away from the pressure, the expectations, the noise of the world, and just be you for a little while, where would that place be? Think about it. Close your eyes for a moment, and picture it. Is it a beach somewhere? A tiny cabin in the mountains? A quiet little bookstore where no one knows your name? Whatever it is, hold on to that. Because you deserve it. And when you feel overwhelmed, remember Johnny's story. If you enjoyed hearing about Johnny Depp's quiet life in France, you'll probably love hearing about how other celebrities have found their own escapes. You'd be surprised at some of their stories. So stick around for the next video. And if this one spoke to you, even just a little, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It really helps me know what kinds of stories you want to hear more of. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and hit the little bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Because sometimes, the most interesting stories happen when no one's watching. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me today. I hope you found a little bit of yourself in this story. And I'll see you in the next one.